I was fortunate to grow up in a small town where Christianity was very present. I always believed in God and attended various Protestant churches with friends and family. I read scripture and prayed regularly from a young age, but I treated faith somewhat casually. I believed that I could have a relationship with Christ entirely on my own terms. I later worked at a non-denominational Christian school for a year, and looking back, that was probably the beginning of my desire to take my faith more seriously. My mother's family is Catholic, but because most of my friends and community were Protestant, I never really explored the Catholic Church. After moving to Vancouver, it finally felt like an opportunity to do that. I focused heavily on building a career, friendships, and a lifestyle that I thought would bring fulfillment, but I slowly realized those things weren't giving me the lasting peace I expected. That realization made me step back and recognize I couldn't walk through life relying only on myself. I needed Christ, not just as an idea, but as a guide. When I first signed up for the Alpha course, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect since I have never heard of it before. Walking into the first session, I felt nervous. I've sometimes struggled to express my thoughts about faith, and I worried that in a group setting, I might come across as lacking spiritual insight, but very quickly though, those fears faded. I was relieved to discover that the leaders created a welcoming, relaxed environment where there was no pressure and no judgment. Every question was welcomed. What struck me most was listening to the faith journey of others. Hearing how God worked in their lives helped me recognize His presence in my own, and I began to understand faith less as an abstract idea and more as a lived relationship with Christ. I would sincerely recommend Alpha to anyone exploring Christianity for the first time, as well as to those hoping to deepen their faith. The group leaders, Sean and Cecilia, were incredibly supportive, and Sean later became my sponsor. From there, I entered RCIA, where I began learning the teachings of the Catholic Church and developing the deeper relationship with Jesus that I had been longing for. When I was baptized, I felt a deep sense of peace and relief. It felt like coming home, while at the same time beginning a new life with Jesus and His church. I've noticed a real change in how I handle daily struggles and anxieties. In my work as a truck driver, a lot can go wrong that's completely out of your control. And those situations used to really overwhelm me. Now, I find myself pausing and handing those moments over to Jesus, asking Him to guide me instead of trying to carry everything alone. The problems don't disappear, but there's a new peace in how I respond to them. I'm learning to let Christ take the reins in my daily life, and that's changed how I faced both big and small challenges. Going forward, I don't see baptism as the end of a journey, but the beginning of learning how to walk with Jesus every day. I want my faith to shape how I live, how I work, how I treat people, and how I face whatever life brings. I know I won't do it perfectly, but by staying close to Him, especially through the sacraments, and continually turning back to Him, I trust He will keep guiding me. To anyone considering the Catholic faith, I would say, pay attention to that small pull in your heart. You don't need to have everything figured out before you begin. God meets you where you are. At first, the church can seem large or intimidating, but I found it far more merciful and welcoming than I expected. The people and leaders at St. Anthony's never pressured or rushed me. They walked with me, answered my questions, and allowed me to grow at my own pace. So if you're curious, don't be afraid. You can simply come and see.